The name of another of Ayodhya disciples was Upamanyu, and Dhamya appointed him, saying, "Go, my child Upamanyu, look after the kine." And according to his preceptor's orders, he went to tend the kine, and having watched them all day, he returned in the evening to his preceptor's house, and standing before him, he saluted him respectfully. And his preceptor, seeing him in good condition of body, asked him, "Upamanyu, my child, upon what dost thou support thyself? Thou art exceedingly plump." And he answered, "Sir, I support myself by begging." And his preceptor said, "What is obtained in alms should not be used by thee without offering it to me." And Upamanyu, thus told, went away, and having obtained alms, he offered the same to his preceptor. And his preceptor took from him even the whole. And Upamanyu, thus treated, went to attend the cattle, and having watched them all day, he returned in the evening to his preceptor's abode. And he stood before his preceptor, and saluted him with respect. And his preceptor, perceiving that he still continued to be of good condition of body, said unto him, "Upamanyu, my child, I take from thee even the whole of what thou obtain in alms, without leaving anything for thee. How then dost thou at present contrive to support thyself?" And Upamanyu said unto his preceptor, "Sir, having made over to you all that I obtain in alms, I go begging a second time for supporting myself." And his preceptor then replied, "This is not the way in which thou should obey the preceptor. By this thou art diminishing the support of others that live by begging. Truly, having supported thyself so, thou hast proved thyself covetous." And Upamanyu, having signified his assent to all that his preceptor said, went away to attend the cattle, and having watched them all day, he returned to his preceptor's house. And he stood before his preceptor and saluted him respectfully. And his preceptor, observing that he was still fat, said again unto him, "Upamanyu, my child, I take from thee all thou obtain in alms, and thou dost not go a begging a second time, and yet art thou in a healthy condition. How dost thou support thyself?" And Upamanyu, thus questioned, answered, "Sir, I now live upon milk of these cows." And his preceptor thereupon told him, "It is not lawful for thee to appropriate the milk without having first obtained my consent." And Upamanyu, having assented to the justice of these observations, went away to tend the kine. And when he returned to his preceptor's abode, he stood before him and saluted him as usual. And his preceptor, seeing that he was still fat, said, "Upamanyu, my child, thou eatest no longer of alms, nor dost thou go a begging a second time, not even drink of the milk, yet art thou fat. By what mean dost thou contrive to live now?" And Upamanyu replied, "Sir, I now sip the froth that these cows throw out while sucking their mother's teats." And the preceptor said, "These generous cows, I suppose, out of compassion for thee, throw out large quantities of froth. Would thou stand in the way of their full meals by acting as thou hast done? Know that it is unlawful for thee to drink the froth." And Upamanyu, having signified his assent to this, went as before to tend the cows, and, restrained by his preceptor, he feeds not on alms, nor has he anything else to eat. He drinks not of the milk, nor tastes he of the froth. And Upamanyu one day, oppressed by hunger, when in a forest ate of the leaves of the arka, and his eyes, being affected by the pungent, acrimonious, crude, and saline properties of the leaves which he had eaten, he became blind, and as he was crawling about, he fell into a pit, and upon his not returning that day, when the sun was sinking down behind the summit of the western mountains, the preceptor observed to his disciples that Upamanyu was not yet come, and they told him that he had gone out with the cattle. The preceptor then said, Upamanyu, being restrained by me from the use of everything, is of course angry, and therefore does not come home until it be late. Let us then go in search of him. And having said this, he went with his disciples into the forest and began to shout, saying, O Upamanyu, where are you? And Upamanyu, hearing his preceptor's voice, answered in a loud tone, Here I am, at the bottom of the well. And his preceptor asked him how he happened to be there. And Upamanyu replied, Having eaten the leaves of the arka plant, I became blind, and so have I fallen into this well. And his preceptor thereupon told him, Glorify the twin Ashwins, the joint physicians of the Devas, and they will restore thee thy sight. And Upamanyu, thus directed by his preceptor, began to glorify the twin Ashwins in the following words of the Rig Veda.